Good morning, sir.
Okay, good morning, Virendra. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, so still the previous class still going on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so is it the doubt clearing or the class itself is going on? Anyone? Is the class itself going on or is it the doubt clearing session?
So the class itself is going.
Okay. Okay, anyways, yeah, we have to get started, right? So let me share the screen and we can get started. So meanwhile, yeah, so I created a poll here and seems many of you have already started participating. So it seems like you are preferring 3 tutorials with 2 marks each. So let's see. So whatever you guys will prefer, I'm happy to do so. I don't have any personal preferences. Okay. Okay, that's nice. Okay, so let's finish the conceptualizing interaction design today because I think we are running a bit late in terms of schedule. So we have already defined conceptual modeling in the previous classes. It's a more like a high level description of how a system is organized and operates. So basically you try to come up with a working strategy and the framework and the different general concept and their relation. So we have discussed uh, the example of shopping mall in the last class in details, so you can relate with that. So it has different components as we have discussed, the metaphor and analogies, concepts, and finally the relationship between these concepts. And the first steps in formulating a conceptual model, so we have discussed like you have to see uh, what will the user will be doing when carrying out their task, how will the system support this, what kind of interface metaphor if any will be appropriate, and what kind of interaction models modes and the styles to use. So in case of shopping mall example that we have discussed, so you have seen uh, it's kind of dealing with all of these 4 points that we have discussed. So in case of conceptual models, so many kinds and ways of classifying them. The best conceptual models are often those that appear obvious, simple, and the operation they support are very intuitive to use. So for example, we have discussed the example of shopping mall, so where it's very simple to use, like simply you can select some item, put in the cart, and just click the payment and it's done, right? So probably you save your card details or probably the address before you start. So in a way, you can achieve one click away. It's more like the Amazon's patent that we have discussed in some of the previous classes. So in this way, a conceptual model based on the core concept of the customer experience when at a shopping mall underlies most online shopping websites. So like using the shopping website that you are building, you try to underline everything or try to simulate the same way the activities happening at the shopping mall and the way you buy items and so. So these are again just summary that we have discussed in the previous classes. Interface metaphor, it is more like interface designed to be similar to the physical entity, but it has its own property. So for example, desktop is a metaphor. It's a kind of top of the table where you put all the items. Similarly, in your computer, you put all the items probably on the desktop screen that you have. Similarly, the web portals and so on. Similarly, it can be based on the activities, object, or combination of both. And interface metaphors are basically used in such a way that it exploit the user's familiar knowledge, helping them to understand the unfamiliar things. So for example, we were discussing the example of computer desktop, right? So computer desktop, we try to put an analogy to explain what is the screen of, what is the main screen of computer by relating with the the top of the table where you put all the items. Similarly, you put all the items here as well. So for example, you put my folder, probably some of the files, or probably my computer, or probably some of the icons of the different frequently used software. So for example, Google Chrome, or it could be, for example, Zoom, and so on, right? One uncommonality that you might have seen, probably that will be discussed later on in the class. And in this way, the interface metaphor basically help you to basically explain unfamiliar thing using some of the familiar analogy, familiar things that you use in practice. So this is the example that we have discussed in the previous class. Like often you need some kind of simple, obvious definition, or probably simple, obvious explanation or system interface instead of having a complex one. So example of interface. Just give me a second. Yeah, sorry. So conceptualizing what are the what users are doing. So for example, when you are using the web, probably browsing some details or some information from the web, we call it surfing the web, right? Really, some other example that we consider. So like that we have just discussed. Similarly, visualize an operation. So visualization is an operation is important so that the user understand what is happening. So for example, if you have to buy any item, right? So one possibility, you might just put into the, you can say, put into the cart button that you have, so that you can see now this item has been moved from here to probably others. So probably another better example I can give, for example, of recycle bin, right? On your desktop you have the recycle bin. So you just drag some item. So for example, let me show, let me try to do. So for example, suppose we have to delete this, right? So for example, I just drag and drop and dropped it to the recycle bin. So the item has been removed from here and moved into the desktop, I mean the recycle bin. So this kind of visualization of an operation help you to understand what is happening and what is supposed to do. This will also basically give you an understanding if the operation that you are supposed to do is helping you in achieving that or not, right? So that is about the visualizing an operation. So the another card.
So what is the meaning of metaphor?
यार पिछले एग्जाम क्लास में तो बताया था. Let me show you again. Metaphor you do for relating to thing. It's kind of upama that we discussed, right? It's kind of रूपक. So एक वस्तु की दूसरे से पूरी समानता दिखाने के लिए किसी शब्द का प्रयोग, right?
Okay.
So the card metaphor is here basically just like you use postcard, right? So it's like a postcard here. So that's why it's called card metaphor. So they are using card. They are using card to explain how they can provide some information. So the card is a kind of very popular UI. Why? Because it has familiar form factor. It's like a factor. It give a very simple, you can say, option like if you're moving somewhere or probably looking for some restaurant, the Google Now or probably some other software or probably some other application will show you some of the cards like this. So like this is the 81% match of restaurant you're looking for. And then you can provide your feedback like I have already been there, I want to go here, or probably I'm not interested. Similarly, you can look for other options and so on. So in a way you can see it's very easy to follow, right? Just looking at the picture. So it means it gives you a visual appearance, how the restaurant look like. Second, it gives you the rating. So how other people have basically rated this particular restaurant. So, and thirdly, the match. So again, so that match could be based on, suppose you seem interested in German. So that's why it has given a recommendation of German restaurant, right? Or probably if you like Indian restaurant or Indian food, so it may give a match of German, I mean the Indian food, and so on. Similarly, another aspect of matching could be the location or probably other thing, right? So in this way, it provide a very simple, intuitive, right? Is it or is it not? What do you think?
So by cards we mean that there's no continuous scrolling as we have in like some of the social media sites and all. Does that it?
Again, yeah, so here in the, okay, sorry, could you please mute yourself? Yeah, so here the card, I mean, we are just trying to use some kind of postcard or just like some simple information. Again, if you want to make it more information heavy, you can put scroll and other thing, but that will make the form complex, right?
So it is like that visiting card that
Yeah,
few
kind of visiting card.
companies give.
Yeah. Okay, so that's why it's kind of, it's structured content. When I say the structured, kind of everything is fixed, like here probably will show the picture, here probably will show the rating, here probably will show probably the match, and then probably some few options. So it's basically material properties give the appearance of the surface of the paper. It's like a paper, right? Just a card, postcard. So that's why it's called. So again, so this is how the Google Now card look like. Probably some other companies or probably some other apps card may look different, right? So benefit of interface metaphor. So it makes learning new system easier, right? So despite how many of you have seen probably this card or this kind of Google Now card before? At least I have looked for the first time while I'm teaching it. So have you seen it before?
Yes, I've seen various times.
Various
Yes,
times.
sir. I have also seen.
Okay, so
When you search something, it gives below it that people also search for.
okay.
Like if you search for a movie, then it's just a lot more in the same format.
Okay, nice. So in a way, I mean, even though probably, for example, right now you're looking from the Google. So for example, if you have to look from the Bing or probably some other company, right? So despite the card interface may be slightly different, I don't think it will be much difficult for you to understand, right? At least grasp the information what the company willing to give you, right? Because due to its card, it's kind of makes learning new system easier, helps user understand the underlying conceptual model. So underlying conceptual model is also clear here, and can be very innovative and enable the realm of computers and their application to be more accessible to a greater diversity of users. So you can basically keep information in such a way so that uh, you can provide whatever the information user is looking for, and probably with some justification or probably with some you can say the confidence. Again, so there could be some issue as well. So for example, it break conventional and cultural rules. So one example that we have seen, uh, when you use trash box, trash bin or something, in the real life you never put on the table, right? You probably put inside the table or probably below the table and so on, right? But here when you use recycle bin on your desktop, you put on the desktop, right? Why you put on desktop? Because probably you cannot put uh, you need to basically provide the GUI for that, right? So that it will be easier to use. So it's more like sometimes it break conventional and cultural rule, but people accept it, right? People how many of you have objected, putting recycle bin I mean the icon on the desktop? Or can you remove recycle bin? For example, I have to remove recycle bin from here. Can you remove recycle bin? So, for example, clearing is fine, right?
No.
But can you remove
In
recycle bin? from here?
personalize, you can do that, removing recycle bin and other things.
Very nice. So probably you can do, but still, how many people? What do you think? How many people usually do so?
No one, because it's helpful thing.
It's helpful, right? So yeah, very nice. So in a way, I mean, despite it is not the way cultural rules or probably the way people use, but since it is useful, people accept it, right? So it's fine. So sometimes uh, uh, I mean, interface metaphor break the convention, but since it's kind of useful, in a way it is useful to you. So it can also constrain designer in a way that they conceptualize the problem space, conflict with the design principles. So because often when you create kind of interface metaphor, some of the design principles that you have studied in the earlier classes, in a way, I mean, may conflict with them, right? So in that case, often you need to come up with the trade-off again. So These are some of the issues that you see, like limit designers imagination coming up with a new conceptual model. So that problems are there. But anyways, in majority of the cases, it is very helpful to you because it is convenient for the user. For example, the recycle bin example we have seen. So it help understand and underlying conceptual model very easily. So overall, I think it's good to have, and many interface a metaphor, that's why you use in your daily life. So
So card interface is just like an advertisement, which like we called that. It shows the advertisement of the product or other thing.
no, it can be. So it's more like the end thing is you need to provide information, right? So that information can also be advertisement. I mean, it's
Okay.
often you can see some advertisement in that form. The advertisement use probably core card because again it's easier to understand, it's easier to probably follow. So I think yeah, you can do so. So this is activity. I think we have already covered this activity in the previous class, so I just skip this. So there are different instruction types, right? When you are interacting with the system, and probably the system is helping you in providing some information that you're looking for. So for example, we were discussing the example of finding some restaurant near to probably make it more precise, finding some German restaurant near me, right? So based on that, I mean, you have to interact with the system, you need to get. So there are several type. The user, because we want to build an interactive system, right? If we want to build an interactive system, then the system has to interact with someone. That is, someone should be the human, right? So there are several ways and types through which interaction can happen. So one of the simplest ways, instructing, right? Simply you issue some commands and you want to get the information, right? So can anybody give example of instruction?
So there is an option in a shopping sites like a go to the payment gateway. We click on, we directly go to payment page. We buy some product. This
Okay.
type of it is type of instruction.
No, you are probably confusing. So when I say that I'm user instructing the system to do something, so this is
Sir,
what
Alexa.
Alexa, right? So for example, what kind of addiction? So you may ask like,
So
how's
Google
the,
Assistant.
yeah, Google Assistant, something like that, right? Or probably even, can you tell me in the computer what kind of instruction you do?
So Cortana is also there in Microsoft.
So for example, let me more specific. So for example, you using a Word document, you're writing something. What kind of instruction you can issue to the system?
So, so you can use tutorials also, no, in the systems for users.
No, tell me in terms of the example I asked. So suppose you have Word file, you're writing something. What kind of instruction a user can give to the system?
So make text
Save the
bold,
file.
italics, underlined, and change its format,
Exactly.
size.
Yeah. So this kind of instruction you can give, right? And similarly, you can also give instruction like save, or probably something like that, or probably, for example, replace, or something like that, right? So often instruction has been used when you have basically some kind of frequently asked in the command, or you can say which happens. So for example, when you're using Word file, what is the frequent instruction you can give, like save, close, open, something like that, right?
Sir, anything
So
you're typing in the keyboard is also a command.
yeah, it is very nice. So the next type, so it is clear, right? So first interaction type is clear. So in a way, user give instruction to the computer or probably computing device to do something. Second is the conversing. And what is the issue with instruction? I mean the benefit you have seen, and what is the issue with the instructing? Anyone?
It's almost a one-way thing, communication.
Exactly. It is
more
one way.
like a command and not.
Sometimes user is also not familiar with all the commands.
Very nice.
There's
Very
no
nice.
It's unable
feedback
to
from the
approach
machine.
something.
Very nice. So in that case, I mean, you need some kind of dialogue, right? You need some kind of dialogue, And so for example, you ask a computer something to do, and probably computer will ask you back, okay, so do you mean this? So can anybody give example of conversing?
Like
Chatbot.
when we close a
Chatbot,
file without
right?
saving, the computer says, "Do you want to
Like
close?"
in Google Assistant, initially it came that what we will message, the Google Assistant will reply in texts. So it's
Mhm.
like we're conversing with someone.
Like when we delete any file in computer.
Okay. Yeah, so all of you are right.
So
So
when
now
we
another
make
example you can think of, you are
such
calling
such
on
such
some customer
mistakes,
care, right? In
Google.
the customer care, they ask you, okay, so press this, 1 for that, 2 for that, 3 for that, and so on, right? Okay, so in a way you can do that. So I hope the second interaction type is clear to you. So it's kind of interacting with the system if having a conversation. Third is the manipulating. So manipulation is about interacting with the object in a virtual or physical space by manipulating them. Can anybody give example of
Games.
manipulation? Games, right? So for
Drag and
example, you're
drop.
playing
Sir,
games.
the systems that are there, in the houses for automatic switching off of on and off of lights, for something like a tap or a click that a
Mhm.
person does and the lights go off. So that is also interaction with the
Yeah.
manipulator.
More example for manipulating. Anyone?
So,
Yeah, Jiten.
Microsoft Excel, where we apply functions on some data and it evaluate all the things in one go.
Yeah, somewhat correct. Yeah.
Sir,
So the next,
calculator.
Hacking.
no, calculator is
Sir,
more instruction,
Sir,
right?
Tinkercad for virtual labs.
So that will be probably, that is more in the exploring part. So
Drag and
you can
drop.
say the next stage of manipulation is about exploring, right? So where basically the moving through a virtual environment or physical space. Can anybody give example of that? So for
UI.
example, sorry.
The
Sir,
UI.
AutoCAD.
Mhm. Okay, so how about you, Pokemon and Go or something? I don't know.
AR, na, basically. Yes.
Some
AR
AR based,
based
VR
thing.
based. Yeah, you're right.
Sir, games.
Yeah, so yeah, kind of games where you use kind of AR VR stuff.
So can you relate manipulating and exploring? What is the difference?
Okay, so in case of exploring, you move yourself into the environment. So VR stuff you can think of. So it's kind of you yourself entered into the virtual environment, and then you are playing and doing the stuff, right? In case of manipulation, you simply, for example, what kind of stuff you do. So for example, one manipulation could be, so for example, you just playing some game like throwing something, right? So in a way, some action will be taken when you say, for example, hit something. Have you seen some game like where you kind of hit something, and then, so in a way you are not entering into the virtual or physical space, but manipulating some of the object around you. So it's kind of interacting with the object in a virtual or physical space by manipulating them. Anybody want to give another example? Any try?
Will coding be considered uh, a manipulation? Like
Will?
we are giving, will coding or programming, we are actually like giving some commands to the computer and they are giving us back the output. So we are in a way manipulating it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sir, online teaching is an example of manipulating.
Online teaching, and yeah, so kind of we are not entering to the yeah, so virtual or physical space, but yeah, we are kind of manipulating some stuff in a sense. So for example, manipulation could be here. So like for
Sir,
example,
computation.
Reverse engineering.
Sir, like we are discussing.
Okay, so very nice. So let me probably go into more details because we have some specific slides for all those. So at least we have got some idea what we are expecting in that. And the last part is the responding. So the system initiate the interaction and the user chooses whether to respond or not. Can anybody give the example for the responding?
Sir, a call, ring, or something like that.
The vibration.
Okay,
Then when the system asks for updates,
very nice, very nice. So kind of system asks for your update.
Ringing, sir, ringing.
Sir, flash on
Monitoring
call.
karna, sir.
Sir, notifications.
Flash on call.
Sir, notifications.
Yeah, notification. Another,
Notification for battery saver or something.
right. Another example you can think of, just like you're going somewhere and suddenly a pop-up comes up, right? Okay, so you might be interested in this restaurant, right? You might be interested in this location, right? So in a way, I mean, if you see, there are several instruction type, and it's not always you only, it's not like mutually exclusive. It's because it's not like if you're building system, it will only have to be instructing. It not only have to be, I mean, the conversing. It will not have to be only manipulating. It could be the combination of all those as well, right? So it depends on what kind of system you're building, and accordingly you can use different interaction type for different component it has, right? So with this note, let me show you first one video, and then we can go next.
Sir, when a system asks us for the random messages that we get in order to block them or show them, that is also responding.
Yes, that is also responding.
So you click the play button, that's is responding. That's we called it respond.
Okay. Yeah, let's see this video.
Met office at 2243 on Saturday the 18th. There are warnings of gales in all areas except Trafalgar. The general synopsis at 1800, Iceland 9.
Any guess what the person is doing and what is happening?
Filling.
It's a calorie basically, or
Okay.
basically content, fat content and all.
And how your mobile is basically getting all those information?
Maybe from that folk.
Ma'am, sir, maybe by IR or something.
No, yeah, you just said probably something correct.
Yes, there was
maybe
a
using
photo on top. It was written, maybe you like the smart folk. So
Or a smart folk is a Bluetooth one, or it may be connected.
9540 by 1800 Sunday. High Trafalgar 1033, slow moving with little change. The area forecast for the next 24 hours. Viking North and South Utsira forces.
Is it Chinese? Is it Japanese? James thinks it's Chinese. This little vase is Japanese.
No? What is happening?
Check.
Sir, it's like a app which always instructing him to do that amount work.
Responding type of interaction.
Yeah.
150.
So what is the issue you can see with the responding? Can you see any issue with the responding?
Sir, annoying हो जाता है कुछ देर
But
बाद.
there is no obligation to respond. He can choose to do or not.
It is right up. It's almost
So
breaking our
what do you think? Can you imagine, I mean, after one day, what can happen?
The user may get frustrated.
the user may not follow the routine.
So let's see what will happen next day. Yeah, so let's see. I mean, the first day he followed, and let's see the next day what he did.
Dems down 27%.
Viking, northwest 5 or 6, wintry showers.
You were very much right. He left aside
North
the smart
south east
spot.
40s, variable 4 becoming south.
And what happened suddenly in that case?
40s, chromaty 4.
I mean, his kid start asking, right? Have you stopped using this? Similarly, daily recommended step. He will do the same thing. He will not use it, right? And again, the same thing will happen. He will not use it, throw it, and his daughter will probably message him. Hey Dad, I see you're not using the smart thing today. And the same thing probably happen while the sleeping. So can you guess what will happen on the third day? Any guess?
Sir, that's like a app which was controlled by her sons and daughter, and always take care of him. That's
Right. But you seen the student, the person is starting using for 2 days. What he will do in third day?
Cow in C area
Got frustrated and not follow the routine.
Yes, healthy दिखा दिया उसको.
Now the area reports.
He's just manipulating the app.
He's manipulating. He's saying excellent nutrition, but he's not eating. Just probably playing with the system.
Humber, Thames,
Look,
Bedford,
he is very
Leyland,
smart, right?
Down, Dover, Seoul, Haight, Rainer, Times.
Well done.
चलो तो अपनी स्टोरी हो गई.
Okay, let's reveal our 5 subway systems, and here they come. We have got Deptford made you think Paris. New York City from Andy and Judith. 50. David and Rachel are going to say. Is it going to be 15 though? It does do that. 7. Very well done indeed. So that's the way this is so many films and what have you, isn't it?
Okay, so goal completed. Everyone is happy. I mean, his kid is happy. He's happy.
The astronaut Dori Musgrave.
Right. So often, yeah. So responding is good. Different type of interaction is good, but that may also lead to some of the issue that you have to take care of. And yeah, so that is something. Yeah. So
Basically, he was bored with this monotonous thing, so
Mhm.
for change, and the app was not allowing for a change.
Exactly.
Or daily routine of app
Right.
must be different.
Right. So yeah, so something, I mean, yeah, so there was
Parallel
some
user.
issue that you have seen, and there might be several ways you can further improve, because though there is no system is perfect, and you cannot build a perfect system, right? Because users change, requirement change over time, users need change over time, and probably also people need some kind of change in the life, right? So in a way, I mean, you can see the different instructing type even that are required to be changed. So let's go into probably more details. What are the different instruction type is, interaction type is. So first is the instructing, as we have discussed. It could be like tell the time, print a file, save a file. So it's kind of users instruct a system to tell what to do. That's it, and that's ended here. So, and we assume I mean, it will be done. So very common conceptual model underlying a diversity of devices in the system. So for instance, word processor, VCR, vending machine, and so on, right? So what happens? You just click a button, and when you click any button in the vending machine, so what happens? The item will come out, right? Similarly, in the VCR, when you place a like play button, it will play. When you say pause button, it will pause. When you say forward, it will do forward. So kind of very common, you can say, the conceptual model which is followed. So the main benefit is that instructing supports quick and efficient interaction, right? So simply play, it should play. Pause, pause. That's it. So for example, in this case, which one is easy? Yes to you. Left or right?
Right.
Second one.
Sir, left one.
Your left or my left?
Left
Or
one.
right.
Sir, the
सर जिसमें
Netflix
ज्यादा
Flipkart
चीजें
one.
वो बेटर
Left,
लग
sir.
रहा है.
Sir, is the same left, sir.
Okay.
Sir, Nestle wala.
Okay, yeah, nice. So let me make it easy. Yeah, so this one is easier, this one is difficult. Why this is easy, why this is difficult?
Sir, you need to enter the code to get the particular item you want in the right.
And so what is the issue with entering the code?
It's tougher than just pressing a button to get what you want, right?
Exactly.
It's the row and column number, sir. Here you just have to tap on the icon to get what you want.
Exactly, right? So here, simply click this, put the money, get it, right? Same here, but it may be you might probably type wrong thing. It might be because the items are more, and that's why the code is small. Not probably you can read it well, and there may be illiterate people, right? This one is easier for even for the illiterate people, right? Simply push the button of the item that you want. Here he have to type, he don't know what to do. Yeah, so again, yes, all these are some stuff. So second part is the conversing, as we have already discussed. So underlying model of having conversation with another human. So it ranges from simple voice recognition, menu driven, and many other stuff that you have seen. So example include like timetable, search engines, advice giving system, and help system, and so on. So you have already given the example of chatbot, IVR system, and something which will be useful. So some also virtual agent like chatbots that we have discussed, toys and pet robots designed for conversing with you. Alexa is another example of conversing. So for
Alexa, I love
example,
you.
you can see this video.
बोली नहीं सागरी. Alexa, I love you.
I'm flattered.
ਓਏ ਹੋਏ
Thank
ਹੋਏ।
you.
ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਮੈਂ ਬੈਠ ਗਈ ਆਪਣੇ ਮੋੜੇ ਤੂੰ ਟਰਾਲੀਆਂ ਚ ਪਾ ਕੇ एक चमचा हमने इसमें भस्म फूक देनी है अलेक्सा वन मोर प्ले दिलजीत दोसांझ क्लैश चक दे फटे
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Oh sorry चक दे फटे नहीं sorry Alexa play clash from दिलजीत दोसांझ खड़े जाओ
I couldn't find Clash by the Beatles, but here is other music by the Beatles.
ओ खड़ जा कुड़े खड़ जा Alexa stop ओए हुणी तो लाया सी इहने अंग्रेजी भी एक चक्कर पे है Alexa stop जी अंग्रेजी नहीं होती फिर अलेक्सा बहुत तंग करी थानू अलेक्सा स्टॉप अलेक्सा प्ले क्लैश बाय दिलजीत दोसांझ
I couldn't find Clash by Margie Joseph, but here is other music by
So what is happening here? Anyone?
Sir, language problem and
Yeah, sir,
pronunciation
language
problem.
problem.
Yeah. So
Sir,
often
familiar
His
with
accent is
Indian
somewhat
accent.
Punjabi. That's why Alexa is unable to understand that.
okay, nice.
Quite frustrating.
The Kripke from Big Bang Theory, sir.
Mm-hmm. So you can see when you're going to make it conversing, it means because when you say the instruction is well defined, right? When you say save. When you say like print, you print. So you have often the instructions are well defined and very definite, right? When you do something which is already defined for giving instruction, you will get it done and it won't be frustrating. As you said, it will be easier to probably complete for the computer as well or system as well. But in this case, when you started conversing, in a way you are dealing with natural languages, and understanding natural language is not that easy, right? As you can see here, I mean, there will be several issues. So for example, in this case, I mean, Alexa is not able to understand Diljit.
Alexa Diljit Dosanjh go tell them
Shuffling songs by Diljit Dosanjh on Amazon Music.
ਭੈਣ ਮੇਰੀ
So yeah, so these things can happen. So it's kind of pros and cons of conversation model. So always allows user, especially novices, to interact with the system in a way that is familiar to them. So can make them feel comfortable, at ease, and but again the issue is misunderstanding can arise, which is right now happening with Alexa. So system does not know how to parse what the user says. So probably due to the accent, probably due to the language, and so on. So like voice assistant can misunderstand what children. So in this case, it's not just children. I mean, even the adult is saying, but it's difficult for Alexa to interpret what he's saying.
So can we solve that problem? When we speak some sentence in English and in Hindi, so
Yeah,
can we
so
solve that?
of course you can solve the problem, and the people are working on it. So but again, yeah, so for example, there are several teams, because this particular example that we have shown, it involves a number of things, right? It involves speech processing, it involves natural language processing, right? So once you come up with a kind of better solution, you can integrate that here and get it done, right? So people are working that. We are still very far, not very far, but still a bit far from solving the issue. So in a way, Diljit is not going to get a very immediate solution, at least for his accent, unless people like you start working on building a speech recognition system for, say, Punjabi, or probably for other languages. So the next interaction type is the manipulating, as we have discussed. So it involves like dragging, selecting, opening, closing, zooming in, zooming out, actions on virtual objects. So some examples are Microsoft Kinect, Nintendo WII, and so on. Similarly, text, physical object, like for example balls that are manipulated in physical world result by in physical and digital events, so such as animation. And so kind of animation is again an example of, in a way, you can manipulating the objects around you, and you can take some actions. The benefit are, so there are 3 core properties of direct manipulation. So it's a kind of continuous representation of the object and actions of interest, physical actions, and the button process instead of just issuing the command. So for example, you can remove an object in 2 ways. So one way of, for example, suppose for example I remove to to release. Okay, so for example, suppose I want to delete this. One way, I just go to command prompt, write an command and delete it. So that is more instruction type. So when you want to make it direct manipulation, I done the direct manipulation by putting into the recycle bin and it has been released, deleted, right? So that is the example of direct manipulation. So benefits are, so novices can learn the basic functionality quickly. So for example, anyone can easily delete the item here, but if the person has to go through the command prompt and apply all those, they can be an issue for the person, right? Similarly, experienced user can work extremely rapidly to carry out a wide range of tasks, even defining a new functions. Similarly, error message rarely needed because here you see what is happening. User experiences less anxiety because you can immediately perform the task and the things are happening as you can see. Users gain confidence and mastery in full in controls. So once you have learned, you can delete an item by just dragging and drop. You keep dragging and drop everything. Like what you do, just select everything, drop into here and delete it, right? So it's more like you get more mastery and feel comfortable. Again, it comes with some disadvantages as well. So like some people take the metaphor of the direct manipulation too literally. So not all tasks can be described by the objects. Similarly, not all actions can be done directly. So for example, you basically have a word file where some of the spellings are mistakes. So for example, if we have to write Diljit, so probably we have misspelled Diljit, right? In that case, what could be one possibility? You manually go and select something. I mean, manually go and do a direct manipulation of changing Diljit spelling at every place. But what could be the issue with this in this case? And what are the situation when it is probably not feasible to do so? Anyone?
When we
Actually,
have a
auto
large amount
delete.
of words, then and it's
Exactly.
repetitive.
Exactly. For example, if there are 1000 Diljit in your file, right? You cannot go manually and do the direct manipulation, kind of direct changing everything one by one. So best way, just issue an instruction. So that instruction could be simply select all Diljit and replace this by this, right? You can do so. So in a way, using this instruction, you can achieve that, which is probably not feasible by direct manipulation. So the next part is the exploring. So
Sir?
yes.
Sir, what's the main reason? What is the meaning of direct manipulation? क्योंकि sir इसमें बहुत confusion है कि what's we called?
No, direct manipulation is like you directly interacting with the object. So for example, if you have to, so for example, if you have to delete this, one possibility, you directly interact with this object itself and delete it. So this is direct manipulation. Another possibility could be you just go CMD, right? And probably you do ls, not ls here, basically you do cd and you can see, and in that case basically you can see the items and then issue and command like remove or whatever the things are there. And in this case you can basically do, right? So in a way here you are not directly manipulating object. Here you are just issuing some command and that basically take care of deletion. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir. Both are giving, both are coming in. Both are coming in manipulation, but dragging of the product is in DM.
No. So in a way, here you interact with the object directly, right? You kind of manipulate them, you play with them, right? Interact with them. But in case of the command prompt,
Okay.
the thing is you're doing the same thing. The action is same, but you are doing in different ways. One is here you can play with the item. Look, I'm just playing with the item. I drag and move and so on. But in case of command prompt, you cannot do all those manipulation, right? Like this. So this is the direct manipulation and that is the instruction you can issue. So the next part is the exploring. So it involves moving through virtual or physical environment. So we have given the example of virtual environment like VR, AR, so that you can think of. So these are some games you can think cave or probably exploring data in VR and so on. And the last part is the responding, as we have just discussed, right? So in a way, the system will come up with some notification or probably come up with, so for example, we have seen the example, system basically coming up by himself. Okay, so you have to walk 2000 probably 2000 steps today, or probably you need to, it's time to sleep now, right? In a way, that is the example of responding. So potential cons of system initiated notification. So as we have seen, it might be annoying, it might be kind of, may also do some kind of mistakes, right? In a way, all those issues are there. So choosing an interaction type, right? So direct manipulation is good for doing types of tasks. So for example, designing, drawing, flying, kind of stuff. Issuing instruction is good for repetitive tasks. For example, spell checking, file management, and so on. Similarly, having conversation is good for certain type of services. For instance, finding information or requesting music. And the hybrid, and as I said, we never mean, and probably it may be not possible to just use only one of them, or probably just your system will be only based on this, your system is only based on. Often you have to come up with some kind of hybrid model or hybrid concept where probably you'll be some of them at different components and different ways. So it's kind of hybrid conceptual models are good for supporting multiple ways of carrying out the same actions. So difference between the interaction types and the interface style. Interaction type focus more on what the user is doing when interacting with the system. So for example, instructing, talking, browsing, responding, all these are the interaction which is happening while using the system. What is the interface style? Interface style through which basically you support the interaction. So it's kind of interface used to support the interaction. So that could be like command prompt. One way you can do command prompt. One way you can do many ways. Simply you go to some menu and you can issue something. Similarly, you can do gesture based. So like do that and do something. Similarly, like voice based, you can using voice, you can issue some command and so on. So that is the difference between interaction and the interface type and style. So these are some popular or frequently used interface styles. So like command, speech, data entry, query, web, pen, gesture, and so on. So in addition to the conceptual model, conceptual knowledge that is used to inform design and guide research. So that includes paradigm, vision, theories, model, and framework. Any guess what this paradigm is? What do you understand by paradigm in general? I mean, forget about this class.
Methodologies.
Okay, anyone else?
The principles and guidelines that you follow.
So let me so I've tried to give some Hindi meaning as well.
Sir, like a pattern or something.
So paradigm is basically a typical example or pattern or something. In Hindi, it's called Adarsh Pratiman or Namuna, right? So it's basically inspiration for a conceptual model and general approaches. It's all about general approaches adopted by the community for carrying out research, like shared assumption, concepts, values, practice. So for example, desktop ubiquitous computing in the world, right?
It's like
So
a
it's more,
prototype.
yeah, it's more about how different practices has been used by the people to solve something from the expert, from the, okay, so what I just received, anyone? Did
Battery
you
is
see
low, please charge.
what kind of interaction was this?
Responding.
Okay, so sometimes it's useful, right? I mean, if I don't respond to this alert, then probably my system, my laptop will shut down, right? So sometimes it's good, right? Yeah, so come to the paradigm again. So it's kind of general approach adopted by the community for carrying out research or some task. So you can say it's a kind of well-established way of doing something. It's more like which people use in practice, and you can take it from there and apply. So examples are like ubiquitous computing, pervasive computing, wearable computing, and Internet of Things.
So these are the new paradigm, or probably the established way of people do. So example of ubiquitous computing is more like, ubiquitous means it's present everywhere or anytime and so on, right? So that's the example. Can anybody give the examples of the ubiquitous computing or pervasive computing or Internet of Things?
Cloud computing.
Yeah, cloud computing is also the one of them. Yeah, anyone, anything else?
Mobile.
Yeah, mobile, right? So
Sir,
earlier,
smartwatch,
smartwatch,
wearable computer.
very nice.
So like
Sir,
one
what is
company designed a dress
Laptops.
in
computing?
which if you tweet tagging it, then the tweet will
Sir,
be
noise
show
is
up on the
happening.
dress. Like something
Sir,
like that.
sir, smart glasses.
Yeah. So
Sir,
in a way,
noise
I
is
mean,
happening.
in a way you can see, so kind of IoT is more like anything which is connected to internet, and you can probably, since it's connected, you can do anything. So for example, one of the example, you can see the smart light, right? Smart city or smart watch, or a lot of things, right? You can do anything. So for example, your mobile phone will sense the light, and accordingly it will issue a command, switch on the light or switch off the light, switch on the AC or turn off the AC, and set some temperature, right? You, in a way, I mean, you can do anything, especially many of you from AI and the EC, you will deal with or probably build some kind of such examples, some kind of such system. So think more about it, and you should be. So second part is the
Sir,
vision,
ye,
right?
all those things are come in paradigm. Paradigms. So I got confusion paradigms because I don't know. Sir, something I know, but fully I don't know what is the paradigm.
So that's what I'm giving, right? So it's more like, it's a kind of the way people do. You have some examples through which you do, right? So one is, as I said, the ubiquitous computing. So these days people use, this is a kind of well-known paradigm in these days in SCI, ubiquitous computing, like using smartphone, you can do anything, anywhere. So for example, earlier, if you have to withdraw money from the your account, how you withdraw money before? You go to bank, fill the form, and then be in queue, then you get the money. I don't know if you have experienced that, but how you can now withdraw or probably deposit money, at least withdraw money, right? You can do everything through the mobile, right? You can probably withdraw money and probably put your wallet, or probably give money to the shopkeeper just by scanning it. So like using the mobiles, you can do anything, right? Similarly, the wearables computing, it's more like you are using a lot of, like example that you have given, like smartwatch or smart glass and something, right? Using that, you can perform a lot of tasks. So all those. So again, I mean, paradigm is more about, I mean, what are the different way of doing, and the practices by the expert or the you people in current time, and that you can use. So vision is, so it's more, again, so paradigm is more about how things are happening in the present, right? Vision is more about the future. So like, how can you imagine what the life will be, say, in the next 10, 15 or 15 years? So provide, so example is, I mean, the meaning is a picture of your imagination, right? It's like kalpana mein bana chitra mansik pratibimb akriti amanurup, right? So it also raise kind of ethical questions such as privacy and the trust. So for example, since many of you are AI students, right? So these days you want to do anything with AI. So for example, you want to build an AI based autonomous driving system, right? If the autonomous car that you have built probably done accident and killed someone, who will be responsible? Are you going to put uh, the AI into the jail, or what you'll do?
Sir, that's a gray area, right? Like in legal areas where like it's gray, like who's accountable for this? There are various stakeholders, not say stakeholders to this accident.
So it's kind of vision you have, right? So you want to also solve these, you can say, ethical question. As you said, right now it's a gray area. It is probably not very clear what will be done. So probably in the next 10, 15 or probably 20 years, I would like to solve that problem, right? Similarly, provide concrete scenarios how society can use the next generation or the imaginated imagine some technologies that you think of may come in the next say 5 years or probably in next 10 years. So question raised by probably the tech vision. So how enable people to access and interact with information in their everyday lives. So how to design user experience where there is a no obvious user control and so on. Theory is more about you have some kind of well-established theoretical proof or something to explain a phenomena. So for example, information processing that explain how the mind or some aspect of it is assumed to work, like when it should work. So there should be some explanation with some justification or proof or something. So that is about theory. So the general idea or the principle of a particular subject. So Vishesh ke Aadhar Rupit Siddhant. So Siddhant is written probably wrongly, but yes, this is how Google write, but it's wrong. And the last is probably second last is the models. So model is a copy of something that is usually smaller than the real thing. It's basically kind of pratiroop, a prior.
Sir, like a dummy phone.
Yeah, kind of dummy phone. You are right. So it's basically a simplification of an SCI phenomena, right? So it enables designer to predict and evaluate alternative designs. Because once you have the model, you can quickly probably build different alternative design and evaluate them. It is basically abstracted from a theory coming from the contributing discipline. For example, so Don Norman model of a 7 stage of actions. Like if you have to do any action, there are several stages. So similarly, model of the user experience. So these are basically the models through which you can basically evaluate different model that you have, whether how good the user experience you are able to achieve through the model and so on. The last part is the framework. So it's kind of a set of interrelated concept and or specific question what to look for. So it's basically provide advice on how to design user experience, helping designers think about it, how to conceptualize learning, working, socializing, fun and emotion. So it focus on how to design particular kind of interface to evoke certain responses. So in your framework, probably you'll be having these type of interface to evoke, say, speech response, or probably in some case, probably the written response and so on. So it come in various forms such as the steps, questions, concept, challenges, principle, tactics, and dimension. Classical SCI framework. So the Don Norman is one of the very popular, you can say, researcher in SCI. So his framework of the relationship between the design of conceptual model and the user understanding of it. So it consists of 3 interacting components. One is the designer model, one is the system image, and one is the user model, right? So from the designer's model or perspective, so the model the designer has of how the system should work, because he have some assumptions or probably the claims through which probably he has some image of the system, and that's how the model the designer probably build. System image, how the system actually works, which is portrayed to the user through the some interface, manuals or probably help facilities and so on. And finally the user models, so how the user understands how the system work. So in this way you can basically so these are basically, you can say, the classical SCI framework. So when you're building any system, you need to consist of these 3 components and deal with that. So in a summary, so developing a conceptual models involves understanding the problem space, being clear about your assumptions and the claims, specifying how the proposed design will support. And conceptual model is nothing but a high level description of the product in terms of what user can do with it and the concept they need to understand, and finally how to interact with it. So we have discussed briefly so what the paradigm, vision, theories, model and framework, and they provide different ways of framing design and the research. So with this,
framework is model is a subtype of framework.
Model is a subtype of framework. Is it not truly correct, but they are related?
So sir, what is the difference in model and framework, because both are like the same term?
No, they are not say the. Okay, so in case of, as you can see here, right? So model is a kind of very very small, very small. You can say the uh, defined way of doing so. So for example, it's kind of very abstract theory of what is coming. Okay, so leave it this. It's more about you have a kind of okay, so in a way I think you are right. So in a way model is a kind of subset of, or probably a part of framework, because in framework you probably include everything. It's, you can say it's a more broader term as compared to model. Okay, so
Yes
with
sir.
this
Yes sir.
note, yeah, with this note, let me ask one questions to every one of you. So do you think the presentation that we are having in the course is useful or important?
Yes, sir.
Probably you can do
Yes, sir.
+1, -1. Can
If
I yeah, so can I have a very quick +1 or -1?
Yes, sir.
No, I want to see +1, -1.
So could you repeat the question again?
So my question is, so do you think the presentation that we are doing in the class is useful or not? So
useful.
+1 if you think, -1 if you don't, right? So as you know, in our class, there is no compulsion from anyone whether you should attend the presentation or not. But I request you, firstly, to, I mean, definitely it is good for you so that you can understand different paradigm, first thing. And secondly, you should also encourage your fellow friends who are presenting in front of class, because this will also basically help in basically uh, so the presentation should be 5 minutes, not 10 minutes, right? But in 5 minutes, how you will be able to finish it? So 10 minutes is fine. I mean, if required, probably from next year onwards, we can keep it 10 minutes, 5 minutes. But again, I think 10 minutes is in explaining the different, and 10 minutes is not only for the presentation, right? It is also for question answer. You are free to ask questions. And with this note, again, I am not going to force you whether you should stay or not, but just probably staying for additional 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes is going to just add something in your profile, and not probably you lose something. But it is again your choice. I'm not going to force you. Okay, so who is presenting today? Please tell me the name. So as some of you have requested, so please try to reduce the presentation time. So despite the maximum time is 10 minutes, but please try to wrap up in 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, so that we can probably have more people in the class. Yeah, at least during the presentation. Yeah, who is presenting? Please tell the name.
Sir Gurmehek.
Okay, Gurmehek, exciting to see your presentation. Who is the next? Gurmehek, meanwhile, please share your screen. Who is the next?
Sir Yuvraj and 4 other people also.
Yuvraj Singh?
Yes, sir.
Who is from third group?
Sir, Yuvraj, yeah.
No,
And
third group. Any members from the third group?
Sir, we are third group. The one with Yuvraj is group 3_4.
Ayush?
No, sir. I'm with Yuvraj. Just we are
Okay,
the third
who
group.
is the second group? I mean, I need 3 groups today, right? So one is the Gurmehek, one is the Yuvraj. Who is the other group? Okay, let's hope, I mean, they will come back. Yeah, so Gurmehek, please start.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, me along with my team members are going to present on the Scan and Go technology. Our group members are Yash, Adarsh, Ayush, Anishka, and me. The Scan and Go apps, which have started to emerge these days, are designed to make the shopping experience easier and more convenient for the customers. This technology is becoming even more popular in the COVID times, as shoppers can scan items with their smartphones and then easily pay without removing the need to wait and enabling social distancing. The primary question to raise is that are retail stores still relevant? The online interface is difficult to navigate, which is the main reason that retail stores are not losing their significance. A report by Bain and Company even claims that 75% of sales will still occur in a physical location in 2025. Even more importantly, 86% of consumers avoid stores with long queues. Over to you, Anishka.
As you said, Gurmehak, that people do not like standing in long queues. The scan and go applications provide an efficient solution for that. As compared to online shopping alternatives, the process is much more trustworthy and there is no waiting period for the product to be in your hand. People who are not well versed with technology also get the support of the staff at online offline stores. Customers enjoy a frictionless buying experience as it allows checkout lines and lengthy payment processes to be skipped altogether by paying via an app in an in aisle checkout process. This also means that the retailers can free up floor space previously occupied by checkouts and redeploy staff to different roles. The buying experience can be further enhanced by providing custom payment options suited to consumer preferences, like paying for a single basket with a combination of payment cards, loyalty points, and offers. The automated digital receipts also enable better expenditure management. Over to you, Ayush.
Origin of Scan and Go application is not too old and not too new, but it started in 2018 in Seattle by Amazon. But if we talk about Walmart, then it's also started in 2018. But we should not forget that in 2016, Amazon had already patented it. It includes various fundamentals and technologies like computer vision, machine learning, etc. And this is the fine coordination between all of the technologies and the innovation. In this concept was really simple that we have to avoid the customer's time to check out from the store, but we should also not forget the shortcomings which we faced over time during the development, and all the shortcomings and all the faults were improved by the valuable feedbacks of the potential customers or the test audience, due to which they had just improved it and made it near to perfect. I'm just saying it near to perfect since there are still some shortcomings, but with feedbacks and with innovation, these will be resolved. Now we present the official introduction video by Amazon.
So I think you can skip the video since we are running out of time. So please expedite your presentation.
Sorry, due to technical glitch, we had no audio and video. Now, if you come to know how does it work though, then I will simply say that download the Scan and Go app and just link your payment method and just visit the store and experience it. Over to you, Adarsh.
Uh, I'm sure many of you, Gurmeet, next slide. I am sure many of you know about the alarm that goes off when someone picks up an item and tries to leave the store. Well, the thing is that we do not like it here. Also, we hate people. So, no long queues, please. Just enter the store, take whatever you want, and leave. However, stores need to make money. So, for charging customers, there are sensors on the cart and the shelves that can, with great precision, detect the item being put in the cart. A virtual cart is made for keeping track of the items The black box that helps us hides names like computer vision, deep learning, and sensor fusion. These are the names that are also associated with self-driving cars. They can be trusted for shopping, of course. So all you need for shopping is when you enter the store, use the app to enter the store, get whatever you would like, and continue with your day. A receipt will be sent later, and you will be charged automatically. Next is a video from Amazon. Next.
Yeah, so please skip the video. Thanks.
You all are welcome to ask questions if any.
Yeah, very nice presentation, everyone. And very, so tell me one thing. So there might be some issues if you're going to implement this system, say in India. So like Amazon Go working well in US or probably, I don't know, other parts. So what are the challenges that you may face if you want to implement here and whether it's feasible or not?
So it can be the challenges that people might face with the technology, but everyone that can shop online can easily switch to shopping from malls like this because it is easier. You do not have any
Aishani?
big counters, so it will take less time.
Sure. So Aishani, you have any question? Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. I wrote it in the chat box. I had two questions. One was this system would reduce job opportunities by a lot, right? It it wouldn't be beneficial at all to the common people who are looking for a job. And the minimum wage would be reduced, so there would be a huge economic fall, and this would only benefit CEOs in the end. Their income is already high enough, so this would be a total commercialization of normal um, like sorry capitalization of a normal job. And then whom would you contact if you were accidentally overcharged or something? It
Yeah,
would
nice
fall.
question.
Can I
So
address your
Kurmek want to answer or probably someone from your team?
Yes,
sir, I
sir.
want to answer.
Okay, Ayush.
Uh, Sir, actually, this system contains not only a sensors, it also contains too many of camera things and too many of contact persons to just check out the things. And even it's not even decreasing the job opportunity, but it's increasing it. In US, we had just gave it a site
Okay.
about this.
Also,
Anything
sir,
to add, Gurmek?
yes, sir. Actually, another change which we were planning to tell everybody, like which we thought would be beneficial, would be to include the small retailers also in this big project, like so that whenever like somebody wants to buy something, they just go near whichever shop is near to their house, and mostly they are those small shops. They can't be like just eradicated or something.
Okay.
So
So got it. So thanks, Gurmek. Again, so there could be another a lot of things are, in fact, a lot of people are involved to take all those decisions. Yeah, so that may have effect, that may have side effects. So, but in the interest of time, so Yuvraj and group, probably you can go next.
Thank you, sir.
Share your screen, and thanks to the presenter. And do we have any third group members from third group here?
So should we start?
Yeah, please start.
Sir, I had a question for the previous group.
Yeah, so please ask now after this. Please go ahead, Yuvraj.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is group 3_4, and we will be presenting on contactless biometrics. How does this work? Well, we initially thought about how most of the times in office spaces and in hospitals and in almost any place that has employees, we've changed from the cards which you punch to our fingerprints, which is used for our recognition. And we thought in this time of the pandemic and in general, what would be a smarter move for us for the future? And we realized contactless biometrics are the way to go. So in this presentation, we'll be just covering how usable, how friendly it would be for us in a general user experience way, and how it would be beneficial to us from a more altruistic sense in terms of privacy and future means of broadening our horizons. If you could have the next slide, please. Yes, usability. So first of all, we would just like to state that having facial recognition or iris recognition would actually be safer to use than fingerprint recognition. Now, you must be thinking, why is that? Well, if someone steals your facial data, the data that is that your photos, to say in a simpler sense, that would be pretty harmful to you. But it wouldn't be as harmful as someone who has your fingerprints, because your fingerprints can be used in government documents, and you use fingerprints on your phone. You use your fingerprints in almost everything, which is why, since we've commercialized our fingerprints as our own personal signature, having another means of recognizing you that is not as harmful as it could be would be safer. Effectiveness, as also in terms of effectiveness, it is just as, if not better, than fingerprints. If you have an iris scanner, you will find that irises are just as unique as fingerprints are. So that's also effective. And as I just said, it's better than storing personal data. You could have the next slide, please. Right. So our next main concern was affordability. Now, I don't know if you know, but we've many phones, including Samsung and Lava, even they've commercialized iris scanners to the point where mass producing only costs $3 to $5. And the other photograph that you can see, that snippet, it's from Amazon, and we found this just a week ago, coming at roughly 4,000 rupees. I think almost any office can purchase a singular iris scanner in which you wouldn't have to touch anything. That in turn would be very beneficial and useful for us. If you could have the next slide. I'd like to hand it over to Ishani for the next two slides, please.
Yeah, so the main question that arises is, will it be accessible and will it be inclusive? Like, we have already learned that usability goals include those two things. So it is pretty obvious that if you're scanning somebody's face, their their facial features, the symmetry and all will be measured. So that should give you an idea exactly how inclusive it is, because it won't depend on the color of your skin. It won't depend on the main thing is that it won't depend on the color of your skin or your race or anything at all. It will just scan the small details on your face to identify you. And because it uses things like audio recognition and facial scanning, it is pretty much inclusive of anyone who is not who might have an arm amputation or something like that, or may not have a signature or any other thing. Plus, this is very easily learnable because you just enter the facility and you are getting scanned on just a word command. So yeah, it is easy to remember. Then expansion and growth opportunities are pretty high because uh, I don't know if you guys already know, but there is a system called e-gates in UAE in which you scan your Emirates ID card when you're going through the checkpoint. Where this is kind of like the immigration system here. Instead of waiting in long lines to go through and get your passport stamped and everything. You check your Emirates ID card at the gate, and it'll kind of just have a signature over there. And you already know about facial recognition devices on your phone, right? So those are not as accurate as you want them to be, but they're pretty accurate now. So yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah, I would like to hand it over to Tushar now.
Yeah, in COVID times, due to the physical contact, there are high chances of getting the disease spread. Even to any officer that you go, you can see biometrics which need to have fingerprint for every person. And many persons choose the same area to give the fingerprints, where fingerprints have a lot of dirt, and some of them forgot to sanitize their hands before giving fingerprints, which lead to spread of COVID. So we need to implement this contactless biometrics, uh, and all this need to be taken care in a low price so that even startup companies will also be able to afford this and look after the safety of the employees. Next slide. First of all, the government should take initiative to implement contactless biometrics in their offices, because by seeing them, at least other will get motivated to use them. Hospitals are need to be made mandatory for the use of contactless biometrics for the working staff over there, because they meet many patients over there, and which has a high risk of spreading disease soon. Next slide.
Okay,
Yuvraj.
so I would like to start from here. Last pandemic, I actually freelanced and I created this app for a firm which supports contactless biometrics. So the app was based on Flutter, Firebase, and TensorFlow Lite. Flutter we used for cross-platform development, Google's framework, and Firebase for backend and server-side work, and the machine learning part was done with TensorFlow Lite plugin. So apparently what happens in this app that there's a separate app for the admin where whenever a new employee joins the company, his facial data will be registered to the database with a click of a picture. Then what happens is we will install the attendance app on a phone and place that phone on some stand at some corner of the office. Every day, each employee can come near to the phone, use voice recognition to launch the app, and then uh, the app will open the camera, the picture will be clicked, and it will match with the database, and the attendance will be marked. That's it. So as you can see that it's a real world example, and it can be set up on any Android device as of now. We have not worked on iOS. It just recognizes your face, marks the attendance, and everything is contactless. So the first thing that the app shows is the home page, and the hot words that voice recognition uses is mark in and mark out. The two buttons that you can see on the home page can also be touched just in case there is too much noise in that area, but it's not preferable because of we are supporting contactless work, but it is still included in this. After when you touch the buttons or you say mark in and mark out, the app opens the camera. It stops for 3 seconds, like it takes your picture, clear picture, and then it starts verifying your facial data with the Firebase data. After verifying your data, if it matches with someone, it shows your details for like 5 seconds, just to confirm that you are the correct person that the app has matched, and then it redirects to the home page after 5 seconds, which doesn't involve any touches or anything. And moreover, there will be many privacy concerns that we saving our images on Firebase? No, neither do we run the camera or microphone in the background. The face data which we store in the Firebase is the TensorFlow model process data. And as you can see from the image below, the face data is just the numbers which is used to match with the uh, facial data at a particular time. And for more information, you can go to the GitHub repo of this app that I have created. And so concluding thoughts and questions from anyone.
Yeah, very nice presentation. Yeah, questions for presenter?
Sir, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, Bhagis, please go ahead.
Yeah, so sir, I had one question first. Like in when we are considering the iris scanner here, like we need to consider the fact that it is quite accurate, and for tracking at large scale places like in metro station and airport, it in long term it can be like you said that you are not storing any personal data, but personal data is used to manipulate and track a person. Here you are considering a very unique characteristic itself. So if even if you are not storing any personal data of the person, it's quite easy for you to track anybody, right? So how this data will be stored, and what is the credibility of will this iris data that is being stored for biometric purposes will not be used for people like in an institution also. People are free to roam around, right? So if this data is used outside the classroom attendance marking system, or it is used in a workplace to track where the employees are actually going, so this can hamper the long term privacy goal itself. So what are your views on that? Because while this is a very viable solution that you are suggesting, and I really love the way like the attendance and the biometric system will work, I seriously as a consumer might feel these issues.
Yeah, can I answer that? First of all, you're already carrying your phone everywhere. You have Facebook, WhatsApp, and all these things. They have been known for privacy breach. So you're basically giving off your details to the internet, anyways. And because this is a system that is being applied in small businesses, like it'll be applied to certain institutions, not like a huge metro system or something, because you already know that there's going to be a huge crowd there. So it wouldn't be feasible to detect each person's face, or like to identify each person over there at that point. So the basic idea would be that in an institution, when you're entering, just for security purposes, they will be scanned, or just as an identification, just as a yeah, like it's like scanning your ID card at an entrance when you go into your lab or something like that. So there is no other place that we can use this data. We wouldn't be able to scan you around the world using your iris.
If I may,
Yes, but
the thing
I
is that
just
if you
had one
change
point
your,
here that if
yeah,
somebody is able to get hold of the data that you're storing, right? You are storing the iris in data, the system that will be recording the attendance. So somebody, if gets hold of that data, they can use it anywhere. If they have the hardware for it, they can place the equipment
So
somewhere and use it in
apparently,
a
I
mass
would like
crowd.
to
That is my
tell you
concern.
that the data is stored at Firebase, which is made by Google. So if you think you can crack Google, then I mean,
so you think that
Firebase
Google
security is so
doesn't
strong.
take
Yeah.
your data? So
I
No,
think
they
if
can't
you
Google
access
if
the
the
can.
company
Firebase.
wants to, then it
They
can though.
can't access the Firebase data. It's in their terms and conditions. They won't access.
They won't
Moreover, if I could
access,
add
but the
on,
company itself can sell the data, and also the biometric scans your iris. They are your biological organs. They are your biological signatures. They can get transferred to anywhere in the world. Whereas with ID cards, you can just shift to another institution and you will get a new ID card.
No, then that is actually the problem of the company, that they're selling the user data. I mean, that's not a ethical work to do.
It's
And
a, like
yeah,
I just wanted
Okay,
to
so these
end
are
off by saying
indeed
that
some
it
of.
it was a general concern. It's nothing that like this technology is bad, but we need to have the repercussions in mind, because while this is a very viable solution for the
Right.
problems that we're facing today, it is also something that we need to keep in mind before we implement this on a large scale. That was the only concern that here.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you mind rephrasing your question in a different way?
wait,
Because
I think I'll just answer this really quickly. I feel like those concerns are absolutely valid in terms of privacy with biological organs as such, as Hitesh mentioned. But when we kind of spread things out, as I said, no one is using your iris data to sign a government document, but they are more inclined to use your fingerprints to as a way of saying that you are verifying a government document. In at least that sense, you have more privacy. And I understand what Bhagesh said about ID cards. But the thing is, I don't know why the system exists today, but it does, where they need your biological proof, they need you to sign in with your fingerprints or something which completely identifies that you are there at the workplace or you are there at the institution, like we see in triple IT as well. So, because अगर कोई भी तुम्हारा ID card लेके sign कर देगा, then it won't work, right? So in that sense, at least, keeping like in the app, keeping facial data that doesn't store all your photo every time, or using iris scanning, a slightly lesser known method of identification in order to create a system, would be more beneficial for us as a consumer. And the privacy risks will exist regardless of whatever we do, because
Ayush,
even in an
like
ID
you
card,
might
you're
call
still
me old
storing.
school here, but I think that the products like these are made just to reduce the human workforce requirement in security systems. Because if you place a security guard that verifies my presence at my workplace is good enough in order to identify me, there's no need for biometric. So companies, implement these plans of identifying people using their biometrics just to reduce their own man force or the amount of investment they are putting in. If they replace one person's salary with a system that works 365 days without a holiday, will be more beneficial for an organization than
No,
employing a
actually,
person in that
sorry
position.
to wait. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but that's not true because this system is made to assist. It's not made to replace. If you see this over here, obviously, if you have a security guard, there's a possibility of human error. Okay, first of all, there could be human error. There could be personal bias or something of the security guard that may have like, yeah, that may not allow somebody to enter just because of a personal bias. But other than that, those things aside, it is this system is made to just detect. It is the admin, or basically the admin can be anyone without any specific qualifications. By the way, it is the admin's job to tell if the person is authorized to come inside or something. So you
Yeah, so
would
that's
require
just like a watchman at a higher level, if you are
not.
talking about an
I
admin.
mean, yeah. So
And
like,
you are basically
Okay,
discarding
so
like
yeah, so it's
tens of
so let me
guardsmen
interrupt.
for one admin. Yeah.
Yeah, so let me interrupt. So I think it's indeed a very interesting direction. Some of the concerns are right, and something probably you may not have answered to, because often they come up with the inherent issues. So, but I think that's fine. I mean, that's how we proceed. That's how we try to solve the issue. So, for example, there could be an issue like someone just record your voice, right, and play. Similarly, instead of showing the picture, probably someone just can show a picture of the person rather than taking the facial photo or probably
no, sir.
verification.
Actually,
So,
iris scanners depend on. They use the latest technology. There
okay.
was something that scans
So,
the
okay.
depth of your eyes instead of just scanning the outer area.
Okay. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. In that case, yeah. So at least they are able to probably solve this issue, but there might be other issues probably which Bhagesh have mentioned or probably others have mentioned. But again, so you do not need to provide answer to that because it's fine. I mean, these problems exist, and probably you may come up with a solution to that, right? So with this note, I think so. Do we have Anuj Yadav, Deepak Singh, Harshit, Keshav Rajput, anyone here?
Sir,
Okay, if not,
sir,
yeah, Harshit.
sir, currently
Harshit?
Anuj have major connection issues, sir.
No, you can
उसका
share the
मैसेज
presentation. ना?
सर उसका मैसेज आया अभी
अरे मैसेज आया तो ठीक है, तुम शेयर कर दो प्रेजेंटेशन.
सर अनुज पे स्लाइड्स है सारी अभी.
मतलब वही बनाया, तुम लोगों ने कुछ नहीं किया उसमें.
सर मैंने इंट्रोडक्शन बना
दिस
के
इज
दिया.
वेरी, ये नहीं, ये तो बहुत गलत बात है ना यार. चलो इंट्रोडक्शन ही प्रेजेंट कर दो.
सर अभी अगर
जो
मैं
बनाया वही प्रेजेंट
बोलता हूँ
कर
नहीं,
दो.
मैं केशव और को बोलता हूँ.
ऐसे नहीं चलेगा
भाई
दोस्त.
व्हाट्सएप पे ले लो, मेल पे ले लो पीपीटी.
उसका नेट ही नहीं चल रहा ना.
यार तो वही है ना, लास्ट मोमेंट के लिए ऐसे मत छोड़ो यार. मतलब यू ऑल आर मैच्योर एनफ नाउ. इफ एट दिस स्टेज अगर ऐसे एक्सक्यूज दोगे तो यार कैसे काम चलेगा बताओ. राइट. चलो कोई नहीं, प्रेजेंटेशन की भी जरूरत नहीं है. नाउ यू हैव 5 minutes, प्लीज एक्सप्लेन. हर्षित?
Yes, sir.
हाँ,
Hello.
बिना प्रेजेंटेशन के डिस्कस करो, एक्सप्लेन करो क्या प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर रहे हो और कैसे करना चाहते हो एंड व्हाट इज
सर
द।
हमारा आइडिया था कि हम ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म्स जो एजुकेशन प्लेटफॉर्म्स है उन पे बनाएं.
So try presenting in English if possible, at least as much as you can. There is no compulsion again, but try to speak in English as much as at least during the presentation. Yeah, Harshit, please go ahead.
Sir, I made some points. Sir, we made a presentation on the Zoom and Google
Okay.
Classroom that
Okay.
Zoom has many privacy issue.
Okay.
So we try to raise issues and sir.
Yeah, please go ahead. You are going good. No worries, Harshit. You are telling you're going presenting well. Go ahead. That's how you learn, right? There is nothing to be ashamed of. Please go ahead.
First we try to explain the target user base of all these. That currently in India we have over 38% population which is under the age of 5 to 25 years, which basically you say is the target base base for these platforms. Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead, Harshit. Yeah, you are doing well. Harshit, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yeah, Harshit, please go ahead.
But there's a lag.
Okay, no issue. ठीक है. So again, so it's okay. So thanks for trying at least. Thanks for trying at least. I mean, you're doing good. Yeah. So because these are the opportunity through which you can learn, right? These are the opportunity through which you can improve some of the skills that you have to. So I mean, again, we have given you chance and you have tried. At least you have tried. I'm not sure about your other group members.
Sir, can we present on Monday?
नहीं मंडे को देखेंगे क्योंकि देयर आर ऑलरेडी पीपल, राइट? सो अपॉर्चुनिटी जैसे होता है ना, अपॉर्चुनिटी मौका जितना छोटा शब्द है उतनी देर के लिए आता है, आई गेस किसी पिक्चर में बोला गया था. तो यू हैव मिस दैट अपॉर्चुनिटी. तो एक काम ऐसा कर सकते हो, प्रिपेयर द प्रेजेंटेशन, क्लास के दोस्तों को इकट्ठा करो और प्रेजेंट करो. ठीक है, चलो. ओके देन, थैंक्स, बाय.